I still can't look at a checkered tablecloth without smiling. It takes me right back to that Saturday in May when a simple picnic for two started something that became a celebration and changed our whole neighborhood forever. My name's Caroline Foster, and I'd been living in Cedar Rapids, Iowa for exactly 3 months when it happened. 3 months of unpacked boxes and eating cereal for dinner. 3 months of nodding politely at neighbors whose names I couldn't remember. 3 months of telling myself I'd make friends eventually once things settled down. The job transfer had seemed like such a good idea back in February. Assistant manager at the new branch, better pay, fresh start after the breakup. But by May, I was starting to wonder if I'd made a huge mistake. Sure, the job was fine, but coming home to an empty apartment every night was getting old. The only person I really talked to outside of work was Mrs. Francis from 4B, and that was mostly her asking if I'd seen her cat buttons. I never had. That Saturday morning started like all the others: coffee, yogurt, staring at the boxes I still hadn't unpacked. I was debating between finally organizing the kitchen or just taking another nap when my phone rang. Mom. "Caroline, honey, please tell me you're not sitting in that apartment again." "I'm organizing," I said, looking at the box of kitchen stuff I'd opened 3 weeks ago and never touched again. "It's Saturday. It's beautiful outside. When's the last time you left that apartment for something other than work?" I couldn't remember. That probably wasn't a good sign. "Mom, I'm fine. I'm just adjusting." "Adjusting?" She said it like it was a dirty word. "You know what you need? Fresh air, sunshine, maybe talk to an actual human being." After we hung up, I looked around my apartment. Beige walls, boxes. The peace lily from my old coworkers looked about as sad as I felt. Mom was right. I needed to get out. I threw together a sandwich, grabbed an apple and a bottle of water, found the old picnic blanket my sister had given me years ago, the red and white checkered one she'd bought at a yard sale. It smelled a little musty, but it would do. Riverside Park was only 6 blocks away. I'd driven past it plenty of times, but never stopped. Too busy, too tired, too something. But that Saturday, I had no excuses. The sun was shining, the temperature was perfect. And I was tired of my own company. The park was bigger than I'd expected. Green grass rolling down to the Cedar River, huge oak trees providing patches of shade. A playground where kids were screaming with that particular joy that only swings can bring. I found a spot under a maple tree, not too close to anyone else, but not so far away that I looked like a hermit. I spread out my blanket, sat down, and unwrapped my sad little sandwich. Turkey and cheese, no mustard because I'd forgotten to buy any. Around me, the park was full of life, families with elaborate spreads, couples sharing pizza, a group of teenagers throwing a frisbee, and me with my dry sandwich and bruised apple. That's when I noticed him. A man about my age sitting on a bench near the path. Business clothes, which were weird for a Saturday. Loosened tie, sleeves rolled up. He had a brown paper bag next to him, but he wasn't eating, just staring at the river like it might have answers. I ate my sandwich and tried not to stare. Failed. There was something about the way he sat, like the bench was the only thing holding him up. I recognized that posture. I'd had it myself plenty of times in the last 3 months. He must have felt me looking because he turned. Our eyes met for a second before I looked away, suddenly fascinated by my apple. Great. Now I was the weird woman eating alone and staring at strangers. "Nice blanket." I looked up. He was standing at the edge of my checkered square, hands in his pockets. Up close, I could see his eyes were red-rimmed, the kind of red that comes from either allergies or crying. And something told me it wasn't allergies. "Thanks," I said. "It's vintage, if by vintage you mean old." He smiled, just a little. "Mind if I sit? The bench is getting uncomfortable," and he gestured vaguely at the park. "Everywhere else seems taken." It wasn't really taken. There was plenty of space, but I scooted over anyway. "Sure." He sat on the far corner of the blanket, careful not to crowd me, pulled out his paper bag. Inside was a container of what looked like potato salad and nothing else. "Just potato salad?" I asked before I could stop myself. "It's all I had in the fridge." He took a bite, made a face. 3-day-old potato salad. Living the dream. "I've got half a dry turkey sandwich if you want to trade." "No mustard?" "Forgot to buy it." "I forgot to buy bread." He held up another forkful of potato salad. "And turkey. And pretty much everything except potatoes and mayonnaise." We sat in silence for a minute. Not uncomfortable silence. The kind where two people realize they're in similar boats and don't need to pretend otherwise. "I'm Caroline," I said finally. "Recent transplant. Terrible grocery shopper. Professional box ignorer." "James," he said. "Recent everything. Also terrible at grocery shopping. And cooking. And functioning like a normal adult, apparently." I wanted to ask what he meant by recent everything, but it felt too personal. Instead, I held out my apple. "Trade you half for some potato salad?" "Deal." He scooped some onto the lid of his container, passed it over. "Fair warning, I'm not sure this is still good." It wasn't, but I ate it anyway. Sometimes solidarity is more important than food safety. "So," I said, trying to make conversation, "do you come here often?" And yes, I realize that sounds like the world's worst pickup line. He actually laughed. "First time. My sister told me I needed to get out of the apartment. Said fresh air would help. My mom told me the same thing." "Are they right?" I looked around the park. Kids playing, dogs barking, the river sparkling in the sun. Then back at him with his sad potato salad and tired eyes. "Jury's still out," I said. We fell into easy conversation. Safe topics at first. The weather, the park. How neither of us knew Cedar Rapids had such nice green spaces. Then, gradually, the real stuff started slipping out. James was going through a divorce. His wife had moved back to Chicago 2 months ago. The papers were final as of yesterday, which explained the Saturday business clothes. His lawyer's office was closed on weekends, but they'd made an exception. 12 years, he said, staring at the river. "You think you know someone after 12 years?" I told him about my breakup. Not a divorce, but 5 years was nothing to sneeze at. How I'd taken the transfer partly to get away from all the places that reminded me of Daniel. "Except now I'm in a new place with no memories at all," I said. "Which is somehow worse." "Like you're floating," James said. "No anchor." Exactly. A frisbee landed near our blanket. A kid, maybe 10 years old, came running over. "Sorry," he yelled, grabbing it. Then he paused, looking at our pathetic spread. "Is that all your food?" "Kids, no filter." "We're minimalists," I said. The kid scrunched his nose. "My mom made too much food. She always does. Want some?" Before we could answer, he was running back to a group near the playground. A minute later, a woman in a sundress was walking over with a covered dish. "I'm so sorry," she said. "Tyler doesn't understand boundaries yet. I'm Jennifer." "It's fine," I said. "Really?" She looked at our blanket, the half-eaten sandwich, the questionable potato salad, the single apple core. Her face softened. "We really do have too much food," she said. "I went overboard as usual. Would you mind helping us out? Otherwise, I'll be eating pasta salad for a week." Pride is a funny thing. 3 months ago, I would have politely declined. But sitting there with James and his sad potato salad, I found I didn't care about pride anymore. "That would be amazing," I said. Jennifer brightened. "Great, come on over. We've got a whole spread." James and I looked at each other. He shrugged. We gathered our pitiful picnic and followed Jennifer to their spot. Their blanket was huge. Actually, it was 3 blankets pushed together. Jennifer's husband, Mark, was manning a portable grill. Tyler and his younger sister were already telling everyone about the sad people they'd found. Kids. "I'm Jennifer's husband, Mark," he said, waving a spatula. "Welcome to Chaos Central." "I'm Caroline. This is James. We're new to the neighborhood." That was all it took. Suddenly, we were absorbed into their picnic. Jennifer loaded our plates with pasta salad, coleslaw, fruit salad. Mark grilled extra burgers. The grill hissed and popped. The air smelled like pepper and charcoal. The kids taught us a complicated game involving pine cones and a lot of running. "So, how long have you two been together?" Jennifer asked at one point. James and I both choked on our burgers. "We're not," I said quickly. "We just met, like an hour ago." "Oh," Jennifer looked embarrassed. "I'm sorry, I just assumed you seemed so comfortable together." The funny thing was, she was right. I did feel comfortable with James. Two strangers who'd found each other at exactly the right moment. As we ate, other people started drifting over. The Frisbee teenagers, drawn by the smell of hamburgers. An elderly couple who'd been feeding ducks. A family with a new baby who looked grateful for adult conversation. "This always happens," Mark said, flipping more burgers. "Jen makes enough food for an army, and somehow an army always shows up." "It's a gift," Jennifer said. "Or a curse. Depends on your perspective." By 3 o'clock, our corner of the park had turned into an impromptu party. Someone had brought a Bluetooth speaker. The teenagers were teaching Tyler and his sister to throw a frisbee properly. The elderly couple turned out to be Margaret and Joe, 53 years married and full of stories. "You know what this reminds me of?" Margaret said, settling into a lawn chair someone had produced. "The old neighborhood picnics. Remember those, Joe?" "Every summer," Joe said, "before everyone got too busy." "We should do this again," Jennifer said suddenly. "Like officially, a neighborhood picnic." "I don't even know my neighbors," I admitted. "Perfect!" Jennifer clapped her hands. "Even more reason to do it." And somehow, sitting there in the May sunshine, surrounded by people I'd just met, I found myself volunteering to help organize a neighborhood picnic. Me. The woman who hadn't even unpacked her kitchen boxes. James raised his hand. "I'll help too. I've got nothing but time these days." "When?" Tyler asked, bouncing with excitement. "Next month?" Jennifer suggested. "First Saturday in June?" "We'll need flyers," Margaret said. I can design those. Used to do all the newsletters for the church." "And let's take pictures for the group later," someone said, and phones were already out like it was second nature. "I've got a grill," Mark offered, "a big one." "My brother's in a band," one of the teenagers said. "They could play music." And just like that, we were planning a picnic. A real one. With committees and assignments and everything. Jennifer grabbed a napkin and started making lists. I gave her my phone number, then found myself collecting everyone else's. By the time the sun started sinking, we'd formed an actual planning committee. The Cedar Rapids First Annual Neighborhood Picnic Committee, to be exact. Jennifer was the chair, naturally. I was somehow in charge of publicity, despite not knowing anyone to publicize to. James volunteered for setup crew. "This is crazy," I whispered to him as we helped fold blankets. "Completely," he agreed. "When's the last time you did something crazy?" I thought about it. I can't remember. "Me neither." He smiled, a real smile this time. "Maybe that's why we should do it." The next 4 weeks were a blur. Jennifer, it turned out, was a force of nature. She had us meeting every Wednesday evening at her house. "Bring whoever you want," she'd said. "The more the merrier." I brought Mrs. Francis from 4B. She brought her friend Edna. James brought his next-door neighbor, a young dad named Pete, who was desperate for adult interaction. Soon, Jennifer's living room was packed with people I'd never have met otherwise. "We need music," Jennifer announced at our second meeting. "Sam, is your brother's band still available?" "Yeah, but they only know like 5 songs," Sam said. "Perfect, they can play them on repeat." We made flyers. Margaret had not been kidding about her design skills. She created these beautiful, hand-drawn invitations that looked like something from the 1950s. Riverside Park Neighborhood Picnic, June 3rd. Bring a dish to share and a neighbor to meet. James and I ended up on flyer duty together. 500 flyers to distribute across 6 neighborhoods. We met on a Tuesday evening after work, armed with tape and determination. "You take the north side of Maple, I'll take the south," he suggested. Or we could stick together, I said. Cover more ground if we're not doubling back. Good point. We walked the neighborhoods as the sun set, taping flyers to light posts and community boards, knocking on doors when we felt brave. Most people weren't home, but the ones who answered seemed interested. A picnic, like the old days? One elderly man said. I'll bring my chess set. Can we bring dogs? A woman asked, her beagle peering around her legs. Bring everyone, I said, channeling Jennifer's enthusiasm. As we walked, James and I talked, really talked, about everything and nothing. His job as an accountant, my work at the bank, how we'd both ended up in Cedar Rapids, what we missed about our old lives, what we didn't miss. You know what's weird? He said as we taped a flyer to the community center bulletin board. I feel more connected to this neighborhood after 3 weeks of planning this picnic than I did in 12 years in my old place. Because you're actually talking to people? Because I have a reason to. He smoothed down the tape on the flyer. Before, I'd come home, pull into the garage, go inside. Weekends were for errands or watching TV. Laura and we stopped making an effort with everything. I understood. Daniel and I had fallen into the same patterns. Work, home, Netflix, repeat. No wonder we'd drifted apart. You know what I love about this? I said. Nobody knows the old me here. They just know picnic planning Caroline. She's much more fun than accounting department Caroline. Picnic planning James is definitely an upgrade too, he said. Though the bar was pretty low. Sad potato salad James wasn't winning any prizes. We finished the last of the flyers as the streetlights came on. 500 invitations scattered across Cedar Rapids. It felt like throwing seeds to the wind and hoping something would grow. Want to grab coffee? James asked as we headed back to our cars. I mean, if you're not sick of me yet. Coffee sounds perfect. We found a little place downtown that was still open. Ordered decaf because we're responsible adults. Talked until they started stacking chairs around us. This is nice, I said. Having a friend here? Is that what we are, friends? I looked at him over my coffee cup. Thought about the last month. The planning meetings, the flyer distribution, the easy conversation, the way he made me laugh. Yeah, I said, friends, good friends. He smiled. Good, I need one of those. Just one? One really good one beats a dozen acquaintances. The week before the picnic, panic set in. What if no one came? What if everyone came? What if it rained? What if the teenagers' band was terrible? What if? Breathe, Jennifer commanded at our final planning meeting. It's going to be fine. But what if? I started. No what ifs. We've done everything we can. Now we trust. She was right, of course. We'd done the work. Flyers posted, food coordinated. Mark had tested his giant grill. The band had practiced. Margaret and Joe had recruited half their retirement community. Even Mrs. Francis had been talking it up in our building. Did you find buttons yet? I asked her after the meeting. No, she sighed. But I've met more neighbors looking for him than I did in 10 years of living there. Silver lining, I suppose. The night before the picnic, I couldn't sleep. Kept checking the weather forecast, kept reviewing my checklist, finally gave up and started baking. Cookies, brownies, anything to keep my hands busy. My phone buzzed at 2 a.m. Text from James. Can't sleep either? Baking my anxiety away, I replied. Want company? I'll bring coffee. 20 minutes later, he was at my door with 2 cups of gas station coffee and a bag of donut holes. Stress eating? I asked, letting him in. Stress everything. He looked around my apartment, taking in the half-unpacked boxes now serving as makeshift tables. Nice decorating style. Postmodern cardboard? It's very avant-garde. We sat on my couch, eating donut holes and watching my cookies cool. The apartment felt less empty with him there, less floating. What if no one comes? I said finally. Then we'll have the world's best potluck for 7 people. What if everyone comes? Then Jennifer will somehow have enough food. What if... Caroline, he turned to face me. It's going to be great. You know why? Because you cared enough to try. That's already more than most people do. I wanted to kiss him then. The thought surprised me. I'd been so careful to keep things in the friend zone. We both needed friends more than complications. But sitting there at 2 a.m., covered in flour, surrounded by baked goods, I wanted to kiss my friend James. I didn't. Instead, I bumped his shoulder with mine. Thanks. Anytime. We packaged up the cookies and brownies, labeled everything, made fun of my labeling system. By 4 a.m., we were both yawning. I should go, he said. Big day tomorrow? Today, technically. Don't be pedantic. But he was smiling. Pick you up at 9? I'll bring coffee. Real coffee. It's a date. He paused. I mean, not a date. A friend thing. James? Yeah? 9 is good. The morning of June 3rd dawned clear and perfect. 70 degrees, light breeze, not a cloud in the sky. I wore my favorite sundress, the yellow one with pockets. Packed up all my baked goods, tried not to throw up from nerves. James arrived right on time, looking nervous but determined. Ready? No, you? Absolutely not. Let's go. We got to the park at 9:30. Jennifer was already there, of course, directing Mark and Pete on table placement. The teenagers were setting up the band equipment. Margaret and Joe had claimed a shady spot and were arranging lawn chairs. Caroline, James, perfect timing! Jennifer thrust clipboards at us. Can you man the welcome table? Just get names and what they brought. I want to document everything. By 10:30, I was starting to worry. We had our core group of 7, plus a handful of Jennifer's friends. But where was everyone else? Had 500 flyers been for nothing? Then they started arriving. First, a trickle. The chess-playing man from Maple Street. The woman with the beagle. A couple families from the apartment complex. Then more, and more, and more. By noon, Riverside Park was packed. Not just packed, overflowing. People with blankets and lawn chairs and coolers. Kids running everywhere. Dogs on leashes. Music from Sam's brother's band, which was actually pretty good. Caroline! I turned to see Mrs. Francis waving frantically. Caroline, come see! I left James at the welcome table and followed her to a cluster of people near the playground. In the center, being passed around like a celebrity, was an orange tabby cat. Buttons? I asked. The Johnsons from Oak Street had him. He's been living in their garage for months. They saw my flyer at the picnic and recognized him. She was crying. Happy tears. Hugging anyone within reach. Buttons seemed unfazed by all the attention, purring like a motor. This picnic, Mrs. Francis said, clutching my hands. It brought him home. I was not going to cry. I was not going to... Okay, I was crying. The afternoon became a blur of introductions and connections. The elderly man with the chess set started a tournament. Jennifer's friend Sarah taught face painting. Someone had brought a volleyball net. The band played their 5 songs on repeat, and nobody minded. The speaker crackled now and then. A frisbee clapped into palms and kids squealed. I kept finding James in the crowd. He'd catch my eye across the park and smile. That smile that had evolved from sad to real over the past month. Around 3, Jennifer clinked a spoon against a cup until everyone quieted down. I just wanted to say thank you all for coming, she said. This started as a crazy idea between strangers in this very park. And look at us now. Cheers, applause, someone yelled, "Annual tradition!" I want to especially thank Caroline and James, Jennifer continued. Without them, this would still be just my usual tendency to overfeed people. More applause. James found me in the crowd, grabbed my hand, squeezed it. Speech, someone yelled. No, I said, absolutely not. Speech, speech, speech! James nudged me forward. Traitor. I stood there looking at all these faces. Neighbors, new friends, no longer strangers. My throat felt tight. I moved here 4 months ago, I said. And until last month, I didn't know any of you. I ate sad sandwiches alone and felt sorry for myself. Then I met this guy with even sadder potato salad. Laughter. James shook his head, grinning. And then we met Jennifer and Mark, who have never met a stranger they couldn't feed, and Margaret and Joe, who remember when neighborhoods meant something, and all of you who took a chance on a picnic with people you didn't know. I looked around the park, at Mrs. Francis holding buttons, at the teenagers teaching older folks to throw a frisbee, at the chess tournament, at kids with painted faces, at dogs making friends, at James watching me with soft eyes. This isn't just a picnic, I said. It's proof that community isn't dead. It was just waiting for someone to send out an invitation. So thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for bringing food and games and stories. Thank you for making Cedar Rapids feel like home. I sat down quickly before I could cry again. The applause was thunderous. Jennifer was definitely crying. Even Mark looked a little misty. The picnic went on until sunset. People exchanged numbers, made plans, promised to attend the next one because of course there would be a next one. How could there not be? As we cleaned up, I found myself working beside James, folding tables in comfortable rhythm. "Nice speech," he said. "I hate public speaking." Couldn't tell. We loaded the last table into Mark's truck. The park was quieting down, just a few groups lingering in the fading light. It looked different now. Not just a park, but a place where something special had happened. "Want to take a walk?" James asked. "I'm not ready for this to end yet." We walked along the river path, the sounds of the picnic fading behind us. The air was cooling down, perfect walking weather. Our hands brushed as we walked. Once, twice. The third time he took my hand. I let him. "So," he said, "we did it." We did. What now? I thought about it. Now we unpack boxes, get to know our neighbors, plan next year's picnic, live our lives, but connected. I like that plan. He stopped walking, turned to face me. "Caroline?" "Yeah." "These last 5 weeks, they've been the best weeks I've had in years." "Mine too." "And I know we said friends, and I know we're both dealing with stuff, but..." "But?" He tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. "But I really want to kiss you right now. Is that okay?" Instead of answering, I kissed him, right there on the river path, with the last rays of sunlight painting everything golden. It was a good kiss. A really good kiss. The kind that promises more kisses to come. When we pulled apart, he was smiling that smile I'd watched evolve from sad to real to this, whatever this was. Happy, maybe. Hope, definitely. "So," I said, "friends who kiss?" "Friends who kiss," he agreed. "For now. We'll figure out the rest as we go." We walked back to the park, hand in hand. Jennifer and Mark were loading the last of their supplies, kids half asleep in the back seat. "Same time next year?" Jennifer called out. "Absolutely," I said. "Maybe make it quarterly," Mark suggested. "Summer's too long to wait." "Quarterly neighborhood picnics," Jennifer's eyes lit up. "I love it." By the trash cans, Jennifer tapped her calendar and said, "See you all in September." No one argued. James drove me home, windows down, radio playing softly. We sat in my apartment parking lot for a minute, neither wanting the day to end. "Thank you," he said, "for being the person with the checkered blanket who let a sad stranger share her space." "Thank you for having terrible potato salad and excellent timing." He laughed. "I'll work on my potato salad recipe for next time." "Next time," I repeated. I like the sound of that. I floated up to my apartment. Mrs. Francis's door was open, buttons visible on his favorite chair. She waved, I waved back. Home. Inside, I looked at my boxes, the ones I'd been avoiding for 4 months. Tomorrow, I decided. Tomorrow, I'd unpack them all. Make this place real. Hang pictures. Buy furniture that wasn't made of cardboard. Maybe even get a plant that wasn't dying. But tonight, I just sat on my couch, still in my yellow sundress, scrolling through my phone. My contacts list had gone from basically empty to full. The planning committee group chat was already making plans for a Labor Day cookout. Jennifer had posted pictures on Facebook, tagging everyone she could find. My favorite was one I hadn't noticed being taken, James and I at the welcome table, leaning toward each other, laughing at something. We looked happy, like people who belonged somewhere, together. A text popped up. James. Thanks for today, for everything. Sleep well, friend who I kiss. I smiled, typed back. You too. See you tomorrow? Coffee? 10 a.m., that place downtown? It's a date. An actual date this time? The most actual. I set my phone aside, looked around my apartment. In the morning, it would still need unpacking. I'd still be figuring out my new life in a new city, still healing from old hurts and learning to trust new possibilities. But tonight, I was just Caroline who helped throw an epic neighborhood picnic. Caroline who made friends and found community and kissed a nice man by the river. Caroline who wasn't floating anymore. The red and white checkered blanket was draped over a chair, grass stains and all. Tomorrow, I'd wash it. But not yet. Right now, it was perfect. A reminder that sometimes the best things happen when you spread out a blanket and make room for others. My phone buzzed again. Jennifer, in the group chat. Emergency meeting Wednesday to plan the September picnic. Bring ideas and appetites. Then Margaret. I'll bring my photo albums from the old neighborhood picnics. We can recreate the magic. Pete. My son hasn't stopped talking about the face painting. Can we do that again? Mrs. Francis. Buttons and I will be there. Message after message. Plans and jokes and already forming traditions. Community rebuilding itself one text at a time. I thought about that first Saturday. The empty feeling. The dry sandwich. The sense that I'd made a terrible mistake moving here. How quickly that had changed. All because a 10-year-old boy thought we looked sad and his mom had too much pasta salad. That's the thing about community, I realized. It doesn't take much to start it. Just someone willing to share their blanket. Someone else brave enough to accept. A few people who care more about connection than convention. Mix in some food, add sunshine, and suddenly you've got magic. The picnic had turned into a celebration of new beginnings, of taking chances, of potato salad so bad it became legendary, of finding your people in unexpected places. But mostly it was a celebration of showing up. Just showing up and seeing what happens next. And what happened next? Well, that's a story for another picnic. But I can tell you this. It involved quarterly gatherings that grew bigger each time. A romance that started with friendship and evolved into something beautiful. A neighborhood that remembered how to be neighbors. And a red and white checkered blanket that became famous for always having room for one more. Oh, and Mrs. Francis found 3 more lost cats at subsequent picnics. She's thinking of starting a detective agency. Buttons is not amused. But that first Saturday in May was when it started. June 3rd was when it became a celebration. The day a picnic became a celebration and strangers became family. The day I stopped floating and started belonging. All because I packed a sad sandwich and decided to eat it somewhere new. Funny how the smallest choices lead to the biggest changes. So here's to checkered blankets and too much food. To bands that only know 5 songs and chess tournaments in the park. To lost cats coming home and new friends holding hands. To communities just waiting to be discovered and celebrations disguised as picnics. And here's to showing up, even when your sandwich is dry and your apple is bruised. You never know who might be sitting on a bench nearby, waiting to share their terrible potato salad and change your life, especially in Cedar Rapids, where the picnics are quarterly and everyone's invited.